Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey Pemberton. I use he, they pronouns. What's your name? Say your name on the count of three and your pronouns. 1, 2, 3. It's great to meet you all. The name Hilltop Artists has become synonymous with words like successful and skillful in the field of art education. The young people who come out of this program seem to be more technically proficient and prepared for adulthood than most teens I encounter in my life as an artist and educator. I think next year we need to get you all paper plates, right? The clink, 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 clink. The staff at Hilltop do not just teach glassmaking, they teach teamwork, perseverance, and build confidence in young adults. The educators here provide the level of care, attention, and support that allows students to thrive. And they're examples of how to give and receive attention and care, creating human beings who will solve problems rather than create them. I'm here today because I've always been blessed with supportive figures in my life. From an early age, I had parents and teachers and peers who encouraged my creativity. I can still remember how it felt when Miss Lacey told me in the 3rd grade that I was a good artist. Her positive reinforcement was enough for me to decide at that tiny age that I was an artist and that it was an interest worth pursuing. It's a privilege to be encouraged in this way in a society that puts financial stability above all else. We've all heard the tale of the starving artist. It's the same tale that keeps working class parents from encouraging their children to pursue their passion for art. But I agree with Bell Hooks, who says in her book All About Love, that if you do what you love, the money will follow. Doing what we love is a form of self-love, a practice that could teach us all to give love more readily if only we weren't taught to think of this as a bad thing. Hooks goes on to say that we need to stop fearfully equating self-love with self-centeredness and selfishness. Self-love is the foundation of our loving practice. Without it, our efforts to love will fail. So in 2018, I co-founded an organization called Crafting the Future that is working to increase access to creative enrichment by connecting artists of color with educational and professional opportunities. My peer group at Penland School of Craft in North Carolina had been having a lot of discussions around the glaring lack of racial and ethnic diversity in the fields of art, craft, and design. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the horrible atrocity that they're all going through right now. And if you haven't turned on the news, it's bad. Check it out and see how, after we give today here, we could give to help those artists over there. As so often is the case, this disparity left many pointing fingers and expecting others to fix the problem. In time, we realized that we were going to have to take the initiative to spark the change we wanted to see in our community. Living at Penland, we could all see the transformative power of a craft school experience. In a 2-week workshop at Penland or one of its sister schools like Pilchuck Glass School or Haystack, students can build as much technical skill as one might an entire semester at a degree-seeking university. And the connections made when artists from across the world gather around a mutual love for craftsmanship are priceless. Not only does the craft school experience possess this potential to propel an artist's education, but it's a much more accessible experience than the degree-seeking programs that can dig people into crippling debt. However, there are still barriers to entry for the historically disenfranchised at these craft schools. They're not free and they're often not easy to get to, for starters. So our first order of business as a fledgling nonprofit was to connect with underrepresented artists and help them to access this experience that we knew could enrich their lives. So we fundraised for a couple of scholarships to attend Penland that would cover tuition, room and board, travel, materials, a stipend, and a support fee paid to the youth arts organization that was helping to coordinate this travel. But before we could address issues of accessibility, we had to increase awareness about opportunities like the one we were offering. It was Crafting the Future co-founder, Annie Evelyn, who had the amazing idea to partner with youth arts organizations like Hilltop to help us find scholarship recipients. Of course, no one is quite like Hilltop, am I right? But there are plenty of organizations around the country who have long histories of providing art education to underrepresented communities. We saw no need to reinvent the wheel here. Instead, we could catch young adults who were participants or alumni of these programs and point them in the direction of a potential career path. This has been a major contributing factor to the success of our scholarship program, the ability to acknowledge and willingness to support those who are already doing fantastic work in the field, and Hilltop has been doing that work. Am I right? I love what I do. Working with young artists brings me a great deal of joy, but there are challenges. And I'd be lying if I said I don't worry sometimes about my personal artistic career. When I stepped into the role of executive director at CTF, I thought it would be temporary, that we'd quickly build this organization and pass it off to somebody way more qualified so that we could get back to our personal artistic practices. When it became apparent to me, maybe in year 3 or so, that it wasn't going to be that quick and easy, I started to grow resentful. I was resentful of all the people I thought should be stepping up to do this work who weren't. But by that time, my personal practice and this nonprofit work had become totally intertwined. They were feeding one another. It just took a little reframing and an assessment of what really matters to me to realize that this work was difficult, yes, but it was not oppressive. If anything, it was enriching my own life and practice as much as it was enriching the lives of the people we serve. I no longer view these parts of my life as separate or as in competition for my time and vitality. Instead, I'm grateful to have something outside of myself to care about and that brings substance to everything I do. Now, whenever I'm asked to do something as the artist Corey Pemberton, I challenge the institution, whether it's a museum or gallery or school, to think about how, in addition to traveling me and my artwork, we can connect with local youth-serving organizations and incorporate young makers to create a deeper and more widespread community impact. I've realized through my work with CTF that representation is just as important as awareness and accessibility. People are just more likely to see themselves in someone who looks like them, and thus see certain positions as achievable. And more likely to have that transformative experience we talk about when they're surrounded by peers with shared experience. So I take every opportunity I can to put myself in front of young people whose bodies and identities fall outside the confines of what our society has historically celebrated. I show up black and queer and fat and a little bit rough around the edges. And successful and outwardly confident and hopefully approachable. It's huge for a young person on the fringe to have people around them who they can relate to, and even more important, that they feel like they can ask those people for help. Hilltop understands this. Like Dr. Kim was saying earlier, sometimes I can't tell who works here and who's a student. And I think that that's a really good thing. It means we're providing continued support and community for alumni, and it means our students have role models and mentors with shared experience. Our goal here today for Better Futures Luncheon is for everyone in the room to help us raise $75,000. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but I believe that we can meet this goal. If everyone here today makes a donation, participates in the auction, buys a pumpkin, or shit, does all three, why not? We are asking you to step up and make sure that Hilltop Artists' essential programs and support can continue in service of our community's young artists. Please join funders and partners like Crafting the Future to keep Hilltop Artists thriving and tuition free. Tuition free. And I know everybody's life is different, so just try to give at a level that is meaningful to you. You can give today by completing a pledge form or by scanning the QR code at your table and donating online. Our monthly giving program, the Marini Club, makes it easy to give more than you might be able to with a one-time gift. Our Marini members are some of our most dedicated supporters and give an average of $25 a month. What's the figure, Dr. Kim, if everybody in here gave us $25 a month today? It was $165,000 a year. That is huge to an organization of this level. With your help, Hilltop Artists can continue to provide vital programs to our young people, investing in their creativity and compassion, and committing to stand with them as they reach for a bright future. Don't you want people like Victor and Stina to have a safe place where they can comfortably explore their identity? Yes? Art really does have the power to change lives and encourage creative thought beyond the studio. So please challenge yourselves today to give and consider how this community enriches all of our lives. Thank you.